Okay, well, this will be a quick to the point video because it's not the first time we visited this. But the point of today is to prove whether or not the DRIVEWORKS sway bar links were really as bad as I hoped they were not. So what I've got here is the replacement Moogs. Again, I'm working on a 2012 Grand Caravan Crew, and the correct part number, if you're ordering the Moog, is K7258. Obviously, one box is for one side. Make sure, and I can't tell you why this is any different, but grease fitting, mount to the front. It's right side up on both sides, so it's kind of confusing, but when we go to the other side of the car, you're gonna flip that around. That will be the front, and the words will be face up. We've already got our wrenches set up here. On the DRIVEWORKS, they were 18s. I've got a deep 18 here and a standard 18 millimeter wrench on the back to hold that still. And when we get down to putting on this Moog, it is also an 18. So pretty straightforward. But I want to point out before we go any further, notice I've got my jack under the wheel as well as the jack under the vehicle. Once you bust this loose, you're going to need to support the weight of the axle so that we can line these back up again. So 2 jacks, use jack stands if you have to, wheels chocked, emergency brake, that kind of thing. So here's what's going on. I have replaced this strut 3 times. I believe I replaced the passenger side strut 1 additional time. It has been a nightmare. The brakes, we were having issues with, a lot of noise. I've replaced those, new guide pins along with the pads. It did, again, help with some of the noise, but as time has gone on, my hope of what these would have fixed originally in that rattle and bang, going over even the smallest bumps in the road, it's just gotten worse again. And I refuse to believe that after changing my struts 3 times, I still have a faulty pair. And I did have a shop tell me in one visit that the strut I'd placed on the driver's side was faulty. So here we are. That's what I'm replacing these for. And if we take a look, you can see the rubber boot on the DRIVEWORKS. It overlaps the unit itself. So when you pump this full of grease, it naturally just seeps right back out. And I wiped this top one off so we could get a good look at its construction versus the solid build of any Moog product. And it just sucks that I didn't go ahead and find the best deal and do Moog the first time, because I knew I should have. So if you compare the way the boot fits on the DRIVEWORKS versus the Moog, they're just better. And as well built as this feels, this is still a little more solid, and you've got a different piece of steel versus this one. And to be honest, it's possible that this is hollow. You know, I've already wiped off most of the grease, but these were disgusting. Most of the grease that I would have pumped into this, I believe, has already worked its way right back out. So that's bad. And what we have to deal with is this. There's no rigidity to this anymore. When it moves, it feels gritty and disgusting, and this one down here is useless. So these are junk. So before we start to line this back up, make sure you borrow or go to a shop or go buy a grease gun, and I'm going to fill this thing up, and we'll work on lining these holes up and get the thing set. Alright, so I've got the bottom started, and as will be the case on both sides, the bottom is the more awkward. You've got a lot less thread to work with because of how thick the actual sway bar is. So odds are you're not going to get very far unless you have a ratcheting wrench like this. A ratchet and socket, you can't get the leverage you need, and don't have the space for a large one. So of course, keep a mallet handy to snug those up. Just don't go overboard. We're gonna line it up on the back side. And we'll start with this one. and as snug as these need to be, and if you ever have to remove them, the important thing to remember is you don't want to use a 12-point socket. You definitely want to get you a nice 6. I've broken and stripped way too many bolts. So when you're taking your old ones off or you're doing anything on your car, you need to invest in a good set of 6-point sockets. And if you don't already have a 1/2-inch socket wrench, you should get one, because I have wasted years of my life trying to break bolts loose and not having the leverage I should have had. All right, that ought to be pretty well done.
Yep.
All right, yep, that is more than sufficient. And as we said earlier, you want to make sure, according to the directions on the unit, which I can't imagine matter a whole heck of a lot, but your grease fitting should be pointed towards the front on top. All right, with that, we're going to drop this down, put the tire on, and I guess all you should take from this video is you do not want to buy DRIVEWORKS. And if you've seen my first video, it seemed like a quality product. I mean, the backing where they've packed the bearing and grease is a little different, but maybe that's what the problem is. This thing isn't sealed the way it should be. Other than that, we'll blame it on China. Thank you, Mr. Trump. Tariffs all the way. All right, thanks for watching. Good luck with all your adventures with your Chrysler minivan. There will certainly be more videos to come as time allows. Be sure and click the like button, subscribe, leave some comments. It's always cool to have some feedback. Thanks for watching.